The lovely Megan Olivi.
Oh my gosh.
Finally, this is happening.
This is the greatest day ever.
What a good time. I have never professionally and personally had someone, like a person like yourself, that we have mutual friends, like, you need to hang out with Megan Olivi. You guys need to talk to each other. You need to hang out. That comes up all the time.
Yeah.
Anyone that we have as a mutual friend. And now we get to finally do it. And you guys get to be a part of the whole thing as we're recording it here for the people on Oral Sessions.
Greatest name ever.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see how the people react to it. I'm not changing it. I'm sticking to my guns.
As you should.
Okay, so we're going to dive deep here in this whole interview. But we got to go back to the very beginning, to little baby Megan. So you were born in Jersey, right?
I was, yes.
And then raised in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, raised for the most part in Pennsylvania, yeah.
Okay, and you are more of you're like a Yankees fan, right?
Yes, Yankees fan, Giants fan. Like,
okay.
Yeah, I got that because I feel like Pennsylvania can be split. Same with Jersey.
Okay.
Can be more like New York City or Philadelphia. I'm the New York City team.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. And so you come from a line of wrestlers.
Yeah.
Right? Like, is your dad a wrestler?
My
your
dad,
brother?
Yep, my dad, my brother. My brother actually was a very accomplished wrestler. He wrestled for Team Pennsylvania and Junior Olympics, Team USA with like freestyle wrestling before he went to college. Wrestled with Team Foxcatcher for a while.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have some
crazy.
They used to come home and have like insane stories.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so then he went to the Naval Academy. He actually ended up getting hurt when he was going to wrestle there. So he got hurt, had like 4 surgeries, and then like couldn't continue his wrestling career. But
man.
I mean, he's almost 10 years older than me, so I just grew up like on that wrestling mat. I would ref little kids.
Oh my God.
Matches, work tournaments and stuff. So it's such a huge part of my life. I love watching NCAA wrestling now, but yeah, it was a wild ride there for a while.
Did you ever wrestle?
I wrestled as a little kid, but like unofficially, not like on a school team or anything. Yeah. And then, so when you go to Catholic school in our particular diocese, you cannot have girls wrestle on a team, and you can't wrestle a girl. You have to forfeit if you're supposed to wrestle a girl. Yeah.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what do you just can't do anything? You're stuck, no matter what. You're like, no, this is not for you.
Yes. I think now maybe it's changed. I mean, I haven't like really checked recently. I think maybe there can be girls wrestling teams.
Okay.
But like I remember my brother having to forfeit because there was a girl in his weight class for that particular match, so he couldn't. Yeah, it's very interesting. So I used to wrestle like, I mean, maybe till I was like 8, and then when you get to that age where it's like.
Are we allowed to?
This is weird.
Yeah.
Then my parents
I'm
were
maybe
like,
starting to go through puberty and it might be getting a bit weird.
Yeah, my parents were like, and you should sit down.
What other sports did you play?
So I played softball. I played second base and center field up until I went to college. And I was a gymnast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that was like my passion, but I grew up with not a lot of money. And I was the youngest, and so... there were other things our money had to go to, so I had to quit. I was pretty good, and so it's always like a little part of my heart. I know, it's always a little part of my heart that I'm like,
I feel like you would have like the perfect little gymnast body. You could just whip around and like
because I'm not tall, so they were like, hey, you got this. Yeah, so every once in a while, like I'll try and relive the dream and like go on the trampoline or like see if there's open gym for adults. But you know
what? I've actually looked into that before too, because I used to do gymnastics when I was a kid, and then I gave it up when I was like, I want to get more into the entertainment world. And I mean,
you knew that young.
I knew pretty young that I wanted to get into it, but I think it's because people kind of always dangled a little bit of a carrot for me of like, I was always like a bit of a ham, and they were like, for some reason I was like, you can go do modeling, which is like not something I would ever consider right now. Not that there's anything against that profession. It's just not something that I'm the worst at having my photo taken. Like, horrible at it.
So awkward,
I can't do it.
Okay, this makes me feel better, because I'm always like, sorry, photographer.
And I feel like people never understand that with us, because like we're on camera all the time, but people want me to take a photo. I'm like, I do not know my angles. I don't know what side is better than the other side. Like, I just can't get my shit together.
Yes.
But I have looked up trying to do like adult gymnastics.
We're having a date night, and
we should do this.
We're doing this.
So we live on a golf course, and I was like, I went to go do like a little tumble situation, and I hit like So I hit my round off and then did like my jump into what could have been a back handspring, but I would have torn my abdominal muscles. Like there's no way I could do it anymore. Once you hit a certain age and you think you still have the capacity to pull something off, those days are gone.
We need like trampolines and pits.
Yes. You know, we need a foam pit. Yes. 100%.
Okay, we're gonna work on this. We're gonna have a date night to be continued.
Yes, we will make these dreams come true. I'll post it somewhere. It will happen. Okay, so your family, you had 2 brothers?
I have a brother and a sister.
Oh, a brother and a sister.
Yeah.
I would have taken you for just brothers.
Yeah, you would think, because I'm like a boy.
Were you always a tomboy?
Always.
Yeah.
I mean, always. I feel like people probably thought I was a boy if they looked at me for certain parts of my life. Yeah.
Same. I always thought I was like in Hanson.
Yeah.
I looked like I was in Hanson. It was like traumatizing.
No, I feel like that's like kind of good because they like were very beautiful men.
They were, but I was like a mixture between like Mbop and like Kurt Cobain.
Oh, okay.
It was not a great situation.
No, I would wear like Wu-Tang Clan hats too, and like just hang out and play sports with boys. So yeah, for a long time I was a tomboy. I feel like I still am. I feel like that's why it works to have the career path that we've had like in sports. It's not one of those. I think you have to have a certain like mentality and be used to being the only girl in a lot of situations, and
you need to know how to handle that.
Yeah,
certainly.
and I don't know how to say this without sounding weird, but like not look for a particular kind of attention.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yep. You're there to, like, this is how I've always approached it. I just want to do a good job.
Yeah.
I want to be good at my job. I want to, to a certain degree be recognized for doing a good job. But as far as just going in and like putting on a cute outfit and slapping on a highlighter, that's not what I'm looking to do.
Exactly.
I would always drive our makeup team crazy because I'm like, I gotta go. I need to get out of this chair.
God, that sounds
I need to prepare. I can't just be sitting here all day. And they're like, I would drive them absolutely bonkers.
Or I'd be like, sorry, I'm not talking. I have 8,000 things to memorize. Yes. I need to go over these stats and I need to look at everyone's Instagram that they've posted on their story today. So like, sorry, I'm being quiet. They'd be like, did I do something wrong? I'm like, no.
Are you okay today? I'm fine. I'm just busy. I'm busy and have a lot on my mind. Because you guys don't use teleprompters at all, right? Like it is all up here for you.
Yeah. So when we were with Fox, in studio stuff did have a teleprompter.
What a dream that is, right? Like I'm getting paid to do this. I'm just reading out loud.
Yeah, I know, but you're really good at it and I'm really terrible. So it would like not benefit me to have a teleprompter. It'd be like, ooh, do you want us to just take that away?
It can be a little tricky. It can be.
Yeah, it's not something I do naturally. It takes like a lot of work to be semi-decent at it for me. Yeah. So it actually benefits me to just do everything from memory. Even like sometimes if I'm doing like a backstage locker room, I will have pre-written it. If it's just audio, that way I can just kind of look down and do it.
Easy.
I suck at those.
Really?
I will write it. And then, like, through the night, like, take a couple glances, and then I won't read it anymore. Because the first few shows of this COVID era, when I couldn't be in the locker room, like, doing it on camera, they're like, hey, just do it audio. You can read it from whatever you write. And then I, like, would mess it up. I wrote it, and I know what I'm saying, and I just couldn't do it. So now I'm like, okay, let me just recite this from memory.
Yeah, I would sometimes get like that, too, in the sense of, like, unless I am reading something verbatim, I can just like hone in and get that done. But if it's like memorize all these certain things, and like with WWE, they're very particular about this line, this word, these things that like you get hung up on, like, oh God, do not mess up this word that needs to be said, or who knows what it's gonna hit the fan. Yep. That I would totally just get in my own head. I'm like, as long as I know what my out is and I can hit that, and I can throw to whatever package. Then I'm good. Then I'm good.
Take it away.
Whew. On to the next. So were your parents always very into this career path for you when you started to get into this?
No, so it's crazy. I went to college for political science. I wanted to be like a campaign manager.
This is fascinating.
Yeah, never in a million years. If somebody said, hey, you'll be like a sidelines reporter, or, you know, whatever you want to liken my role now to.
Sure.
I would have been like, okay. Like, you're
and like crushing it, by the way. Like you really do an exceptional job.
Thanks.
Truly.
I try.
No, you really do.
It never interested me. It never even, I don't even want to say like I wasn't like into it, because it never was even an option. It wasn't a possibility in my brain. It was never something I thought about. And so finally, like, I would just not shut up about the Yankees during some of my internships. Yeah. That they were like, why don't you do this as a job? And so I was like, all right, well, like, can I make money doing this?
Hell yeah. Get that change.
They were like, yeah, you can. I'm like, okay. So I tried. I did a little web show for like an hour, and I was like, well, that was really easy because it was what I would be talking about outside of work.
Right.
I'm like, all right. And this is way less stressful than politics. Like, I wasn't really into politics. I just felt like I could do well at it.
You worked with Megyn Kelly, right?
I did, yeah. I was her intern during the 2008 presidential election.
Man.
Yeah.
Like, that's high stakes.
Yes. It was extremely stressful. I learned more from her than all of my college and master's education combined. She, triple checking your sources, and not even, if you have a research team, you still don't rely on them for your research, you know? And I remember somebody did an interview. It was an entertainment show. And this was when Sarah Palin was running for vice president. And it was kind of set up as like women who are in politics and in the news during this election season. So it sounded like a really nice pitch and a very cool thing to be a part of. So they get on set, and I'm just like fetching coffee or whatever it is. And it turned into this whole different piece. It turned into like a very like negative kind of like a gotcha game.
Oh God.
And I kept thinking like, do you want us to tell them to leave, that kind of thing? And there were people in power that were around that could have done that. And she's like, no, it's fine. And the way she handled herself, like whether you like her or not, just to be put into that position, and the way she handled herself like a professional, I remember, I will never forget that day, because I just felt like it taught me so many lessons on like so many different levels of how to conduct yourself, and things aren't always going to go as planned, and you know, you always have to be a pro no matter what and treat people better than they might have treated you in that opportunity. So she was a very tough cookie, but I'm very grateful for
It's a good place to cut your teeth though. Like it's you'd rather be in there with one of those like pit bulls and really learn the ins and outs. I mean, I feel like before you get into, you know, whether it's politics or even into our line of work, you hear some of these horror stories about how people can behave and how things can be. So to really get like that like hands-on experience to see how that goes down. Yeah. Have you ever been in a situation like that where you feel like you've had to kind of keep your cool while someone's trying to take advantage or put you in a weird spot?
I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily. I think that there's sometimes been some difficult positions with like having a husband that fights, and then kind of like asking questions you'd prefer not to be asked. Yeah. And like you're like, why, like, what are you trying to get out of this? But I feel like I try to know what's happening like as much as I can before I go into it. But I mean, it's just people's nature, right? They want to get a headline.
They're nosy.
And I'm sure you've had to deal with it where you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I was put in a really weird spot. I've talked about it a little bit in other interviews, but when I first started doing commentary, and it happened at a very interesting time that my husband was off for a long time with a tricep injury, which turned into a staph infection, and it was which turned to MRSA. It was like,
oh my God,
really bad. Anyways, not the point of that story, but that did happen. But anyway, so I'm on commentary, and then it's his re-debut. And he was like jacked. He kind of changed up his look. He was about to start working as a heel. And I was told that like, I was just calling him as a wrestler. I was not calling him as my husband. Oh. But it would change week to week. So some days I'm just calling a Dean Ambrose match, and then I'd be getting like poked and prodded with questions about my husband while doing commentary. And I was not seasoned enough as a commentator to handle that. Because like also knowing
who is
like to figure out how to navigate that world of that like gray area where I know how hard he's worked on putting together this character. I don't want to all over by being like, oh my God, it's my husband, and like oh my God, it was just like so much pressure to try not to like mess that up. So I mean, luckily he ended up leaving, so that made my life a little bit easier. That made my life a little bit easier, no doubt about it. Oh my God.
Sure.
So back to like more of the political stuff before we get into more of your career. I feel like I saw you, I don't know if you tweeted this or it was on your Instagram or something, but do you plan on running to be the mayor of Las Vegas?
It's on my bucket list, yeah.
Tell me about this.
So, okay, that is something that I've always wanted to do, like enact change in my community.
Hell yeah.
This is like way before I even like had this career or lived in Las Vegas. I just always like was very passionate about the changes that you can make for the positive for the people around you. And I'm sure you feel the same way. When you move to Las Vegas, it's like a small town, even though it's a big city.
Yeah.
And I think the events of October 1st really kind of made us all realize how fortunate we are to live here, but how much we need each other, because we're a city where people just come to spend 3 nights and go crazy. And that's great. Like, have your bachelorette party here and have the time of your life. But we live here. And so for me, I don't want to like talk, but I feel like maybe Vegas isn't the best it's ever been.
Sure.
There are some issues in terms of, like, the residents and outside of what people who visit would see with, like, you know, a little bit of trouble with some crime and our education system and our medical
I always hear the education system here is not very good.
Yeah.
Which is a little scary as somebody that is currently with child.
Okay, I didn't know if we were... Okay.
But I will be announced by the time this comes out, so
I'm
it's
like,
okay.
oh my god, are we allowed to do this? So excited.
I feel like now, knowing this, it makes me more invested in what's actually happening in the community, because it's going to affect me on a completely different level now.
Yeah, and, like, I think having, like, the Golden Knights here and having the Raiders here, it really shows...
Silver Knights, just up the street from here.
Yes, and even, like, the UFC, we, like, unofficially felt like we were the sports league of the city before, you know, the real teams came here. And so you see that there is this community that really is bonded together and quilted. And for me, I just, like, want to make it the best possible. Yeah. And, you know, I grew up watching... People have opinions about him now, and that's fine. But, like, Rudy Giuliani kind of take over New York City and change how a lot of things were going and how it was perceived by visitors, where a lot of neighborhoods were made safer, and there was a lot right and a lot wrong.
I mean, you look at how New York was perceived in, like, the 80s.
Exactly.
You know, it's so different.
And I'm not saying everything he did was right, because it certainly wasn't. But you just see that the power that somebody can have to do things for the better. So yeah, that even
I'm all for this, because that's something that I found when I moved from New York here, and then obviously from Toronto through way of all those as well. But when I first got here, I was like, what is, like, the community here? What happens? What are people up to? I mean, other than, like, the only things that I can draw on, even just from, like, a creative standpoint, is, like, Market in the Alley and, like, First Friday, some of those things that exist that I think are great. I just wish that there was more of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I love that stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, it can be better for everybody here. It can be better for visitors. I mean, we don't need to have, like, these fees where it's $80 a night.
Totally.
You know, that are making people not come here.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you can get a hotel room for, like, moderately cheap depending on where you're looking, but then they, like, jack up all these other fees, and, like, they kind of paint you in a corner here.
Exactly.
And there,
so yeah, that's on the list for sure.
All right.
And I used to think it would be way far in the future, but even just recently, I was like, Joe, I feel like I really need to do this. So I think I need to start with, like, city council and then go from there.
Yes. My God, start planting those seeds. Make that happen. That would be so cool.
Oh my God, thanks. I feel like everyone was going to think I was so foolish for wanting to do that.
No, I think it's just an incredible thing. I mean, it's not something that would have entered my brain as a thing to do, because my brain just doesn't work like that. But for you to be someone's like, no, I'm actually going to step in there and, like, make some changes.
Yeah.
Like, great. I'm like, I'll write a blog about Like, I don't know.
You can be my running mate. We'll do it together.
Yeah. I'll bring, like, snacks and stuff. I'll bring snacks and treats. I will keep everybody happy in that capacity. No problem.
Perfect. I hope it's snacks from your cookbook that I pre-ordered. Just
Yay!
So you know.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you.
Oh my God, I can't believe that it's real. It is so much work doing a cookbook.
I can't imagine, because even when I just share a recipe, I'm like, this is a lot to write down.
I know, because you do those a lot. I mean, your cooking videos are great. You and your gnocchi and your pasta and your, like, pasta drying treat.
It's nothing like you.
No, it's fantastic.
It's just tradition for me. You know what I mean?
Which I'm very jealous of, by the way. Because I feel like, so the holiday's just around the corner. We're, like, going all over the place, and it's totally okay. I'll bring it around at some point. Everyone relax. Do you do 7 fishes?
Okay.
On holidays?
I don't at my own house.
Okay. I've always been fascinated
growing up a little bit. I don't love the 7 fishes.
Oh, okay.
I love the tradition of it, but I don't necessarily love each dish. But we do try to have, like...
They're all traditional dishes?
I mean, you can kind of do it, like, modernized, where you just have 7 different seafood dishes.
See, like, I'm down with that.
Yes, which is more of what we will do. So we'll have, like, if we go to my grandmother's, we'll have, like, calamari, and then shrimp, and then bacala, and, like, different...
Hell yeah.
Yeah, or, like pasta with clams. So we just kind of, like, do that, but not the super traditional
That sounds incredible. Last night I did a pasta with tuna in it, which I've never done. it always used to seem like something to me that I thought was gross.
Oh, no.
But now my pregnant taste buds are like, what is this dish?
Yes.
And I made it, and it rocked my
Was it red
world.
sauce?
No, I did it in like, so I kind of, because I didn't have all the ingredients on hand, but I just did like garlic, I didn't have cream, so I just used like 2% milk.
Does?
Who does? No one has cream on it. No.
Not unless you're like...
Unless you're preparing for the holidays,
yes.
which I was not when I was making this, but I just did some frozen peas, the tuna, and like some chili flakes, and just like a little spice, a little rigatoni, and a noodle pasta.
It's a very Lenten thing, so we always had spaghetti and tuna fish for Lent.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's a delight.
Truly.
I'm adding it into the mix. It does. It didn't sound like something I wanted. Maybe a little lemon zest in there would be nice. Okay. I think that might be a nice little
invite
touch.
me over next time.
Yeah, done. Done and done. Okay, back to work and career things.
Sorry.
So we're talking about, you kind of seeing the way that Megan Kelly is when she works, the way she's able to handle herself. You've now been able to develop this amazing career for yourself.
Thanks.
And you always come across as very authentic and genuine. And you just seem like a really nice person.
Thanks.
Which is great. And so to just sort of piggyback on that, I often get told the same thing. Has that ever been a problem for you of people wanting to take advantage of the niceness or feel like,
100%.
It happens all the time.
Yeah, and I think it's like such a double-edged sword for women. I wouldn't say that it is for men particularly, although I can't speak to that experience. However, I feel like...
We will guess.
Right, yeah, we're guessing. I feel like we always get that one comment of like, you don't know what it's like. Yeah, because it's just in my nature. Like, it's just who I am to, like, want to talk to the camera guys. Or, like, during the COVID era, the team that sanitizes all of our stuff, like, I'm not going to not talk to them. Like, what are they up to? Like, for our Halloween show, they have these sweet costumes. And, like, it's just part of me to want to talk to everybody and do extra work and want to help the team and just always kind of be that way. But it can put yourself in these positions where they're like, oh, Megan will do it. But like which I don't mind if there's like appreciation or like acknowledgement, that kind of thing. And I'm not doing it to like get praise, but it's like, hey, thanks for helping.
Yeah, you don't want to just be like Old Faithful.
Right, exactly. But then if you kind of give any pushback, it's like, well, she's...
Yeah.
No.
But so here's the thing that I've always found crazy is that I think because, and I'm just guessing on this, because I feel like it's so unexpected from you or I to behave in that way that if we were to do it, it would be jarring to people and would freak them out.
Yes.
Where I've seen many other people just behave like that and people just accept it and they get praise, perhaps even a promotion.
Yes.
It's crazy to me.
I want to like make a real life emoji of like the pre-chance because I could not agree with that more. It's almost like whoever you are on day one is who you are.
You set
and
the
like,
tone.
Yes. And so if you're and you treat everyone badly or you are a guy who just is very demanding or whatever or has a bad attitude off camera, that's who you are. It's like, it's just them.
Yeah.
But then, like, if you have a bad day or, I don't know, you're worried about COVID, I don't know, just stupid stuff.
Anything.
It's not okay. You know? Well, are you all right?
Yeah.
What's the deal today? It's like, what? There's no deal.
If you're, like, remotely short with somebody, it's like, oh, okay. Here she comes. It's like, no, like, I can have different, I don't have to be the same speed all the time.
Yes. And I think, like, I don't know about you, but I feel like I put in extra effort to acknowledge if, okay, I'm like, for instance, when Joe got COVID while I was at work and I wasn't home with him, so I was super worried. I was literally in the middle of interviews. I had like 6 interviews that were lined up. I think I had 1 or 2 done. I got up from my chair. I'm calling him. I'm calling to get him a test. Like, so I wasn't like the most Megan that I've been. But then I like have to think in my head, like, well, I don't want people to think like I'm being or like I did something wrong or they did something wrong. So like then I'm trying extra to be nice and then I'm just like
the overcompensating.
Yes.
It can be such a burnout too, right?
Total burnout. And then it's like it's not like you're pretending or anything like that, but it is just extra energy where you're like, freak. Like I was only like at work for 4 hours today, but I feel like I was like on a 12-hour shift because the mental and emotional and spiritual like energy you're using is just
you're burning the candle at both ends.
Yes.
So is your husband like that?
No, he is the nicest human being, naturally, like, doesn't really care what other people think or say. So he is just himself, and himself is just like, he's like the mayor of the UFC PI. Like, he is just, hey, like, friends with everybody, which makes him late for everything. But he's just, like, he is so genuinely kind and almost oblivious to if people have another opinion that, like, it doesn't even come across his radar to think that way. I'm just like, ugh.
It always blows my mind. I mean, I did an interview with John on here because he's very, when you meet, I mean, you've met him in passing before, but he can be, depending on when you get him, if he's had a couple cocktails, hey, how's it going? And he told me when he, like, saw you and, like, met you and stuff. I wasn't able to be at that show, the one in Jacksonville, but he normally, if you just catch him in, like, a regular day, he is, like, in his own world. He does not, like, he doesn't go out of his way to, like, shit with everybody else the way that I do. So, and sometimes I see the way that he behaves, I'm like, man, he's so much more protective of his own energy than I am.
Yes.
Where I'm, like, giving my energy to everybody in the room, and then I'm like, oh, give me a glass of wine and a snack.
No, I felt like I creeped John out when I saw him.
No, he was like, she's so nice. She's so tiny. She's so nice.
He was with maybe a friend or colleague or something.
Yeah, I think he was with Tony. He was with Tony Khan.
Hi, are you Renee's husband?
I did the same thing to your husband though once. I saw him. We were at one of the UFC events and he was up in the like Budweiser zone. Yeah. I was like, "Are you Megan Olivi's husband?" Hi.
Hopefully he was very friendly.
He was. He was very, very nice. Yeah, I complimented his outfit, so he was good.
Then you're his best friend. That's all he needs is an outfit compliment.
More to come on the outfits in just mere moments. Have you had any mentors throughout your career?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I feel like Megan, whether she knew it or not, was sort of a mentor just by her example, in good and bad.
How long did you work with her?
Just for a year.
Okay.
Or less than a calendar year. Probably only like 7 months.
Okay.
Yeah, so her, and then I actually, Bill Richards from Fox, I don't know if you had any experience with him. He kind of took over midway through our UFC and Fox partnership. And there were kind of all these stories of like him being really tough on talent. You know.
I love getting that note before you meet
someone.
You're like
hey, and
how do I handle this?
Yeah, and I didn't have a lot of respect, I would say, from the person who had that role before.
Even better. Love that. Yeah. Love it.
So I kind of went in like nervous as all get out. Like, oh man, this could be the end of me doing these broadcasts. And he's a man of few words, but he just believed in me and like made it clear, like, hey, you're going to be great.
The best.
And that was like all I needed. And throughout my career, he's been somebody who I stay in contact with. He was the reason I had an opportunity to try to work an NFL game, and then it went well. So, you know, I'm in my 3rd season with them now, and that was because he believed in me enough to just give me a chance. He wasn't like, I'm going to hand you this job. It was, you better hit it out of the park. Yeah. I think that you can. Yeah. And if you do, we're going to keep you on the team. And he's been really great, and like he'll, you know, if I ask him for feedback or just his thoughts on certain things, he always gives that. And then there's a guy named Chris Kartsmark at the UFC who's one of our executives who I came in, you know, doing digital and, you know, very small projects. Yeah, and he always believed in me, gave great feedback. So yeah, they've all been really great. And as I'd say in the past 3 or 4 years, somebody I have always admired on television, but didn't know, but now is a friend, is Kelly Ripa.
She's fantastic.
She is. I like can't say this enough about what a good person she is. And
That's awesome.
You guys have very similar personalities, like so friendly, so welcoming. You know, we went to her the first time I met her, it was in her house.
How did you guys become friends with them?
So my husband and her husband worked on a show together.
Oh, okay.
And they had mutual friends. The guy's name is Jonathan Tucker, who's one of our best friends now. He's on Kingdom and Justified and a bunch of other shows, and they all just got along. And they were like, hey, you guys are in New York, like come over to our house for dinner. And here's Megan. Like,
oh my God, I'd be like, what's in your closet?
I was
what are you keeping in your cupboard?
Oh, she showed me her closet. I was like, this is the greatest day of my life. I was like shaking. I was so nervous because I mean, you grow up, and not that she's old. I don't mean it like that. But
she's a cornerstone. She's a legend. I think for anyone in our line of work, she is at the tippy top of like, oh my God, how do I get that?
She's the gold standard.
And she just does it with such ease. Yes. And she also just has this like bite to her that I find so charming and fascinating, where she's not just like on there being like squeaky clean and nice. Like you can tell that she would be like, no,
Yeah.
This is how it's getting done.
That's exactly it. And, like, she treats everyone, like, with such respect. Like, so we come into her house, and she's like, hug. I'm like, oh, my God, Kelly.
Bring it in.
What? But
that
then,
tight little butt.
Oh, God. Tiniest.
Come on.
Tiniest little fit, like, thing
She's
you could
amazing.
ever imagine. Her children are the greatest kids I've ever met.
They're stunning.
They're like, hey, let me take your coat. Would you like a drink? I'm like, oh, my God. I love you guys. Like, what? And she has been, not just by her example, but she has been like somebody I go to when I just want to talk things through, when I want to get her perspective on things. Yeah. And you know what? I just have to say this because it's something that has like bothered me in the past year or so. She is like genuinely one of the kindest, most generous people you will ever come across in your life. And when I see like how people sometimes talk about her online, it is infuriating to me. Like, I want to go fight those people in real life.
I don't know her at all. I have never met her. And when I see people, like, just like passing comments, I mean, people are like that on the internet about anyone that's on TV in general. We've all received our, like, fair share of that.
Yes.
But, like, for her to take the show from what it was, from like it being with Regis to then with Michael and now with Ryan Seacrest, and she has been that mainstay. She makes that show.
Yes.
It's her show.
Yes.
Don't get it twisted.
No, and it's
anybody.
It's like, people will say stuff, and I guess it just has to do with being on camera. It's a position you put yourself in unwillingly.
Sure.
Like, we're not asking for this.
Of course.
But it's like, you don't know the kind of generosity she gives.
You don't know what goes
life.
On behind the scenes.
Yeah,
you don't know what the day-to-day is. You also don't even know what it feels like to have, like, I don't know what it feels like to have that kind of pressure of doing a daily show like that. And having the most popular version of that show. And, you know, even looking at the stuff that happened with Ellen recently, and again, I don't know her. I've heard, you know, when you hear about the bad work conditions and all the things that went down. And again, I don't really know, but it's like, is this just a situation of her trying to get done and people don't like being rubbed the wrong way?
Right.
I don't know.
And it's a lot of times observers who just think they get a vibe watching someone through a lens. And it's like, there's also, you're also removed. So that lens does change who you are,
of course,
to the viewer. You know what I mean? So you can be like, you know, giving millions of dollars away every year, and it's still not good enough because someone's vibe like wasn't right on a Tuesday morning.
It's so exhausting. Again, I know, you know, you sign up for these jobs and you seek out these careers, but it's not always just this easy thing to navigate.
Right.
Like, at the very top, they're dealing with these insane things.
Yeah, and you just have to, like, I don't know about you, but like the voices can be so difficult where it's like you can get 10 or you can get 9 great voices and one says something, and for some reason that one just sticks with you. Course. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So it can be really challenging.
My bulldog just farted in the room, everybody, so I would just like to apologize.
She's the cutest dogs who are the best welcoming community.
If you happen to hear snoring in the background, it's because my dog is sleeping at my feet.
Put him to sleep.
Just happened. But yeah, no, I just always find that whole thing fascinating of like women in television and the way that they can be treated and perceived. Mm-hmm. And as much as we see these leaps and bounds happening, there's still so much that goes on behind the scenes and then on the comment sections and all that stuff. And you're right. It's like, no matter how many compliments you get and like how great a fan base can be, these trolls that come out and just say these horrible things. And I guess the problem is, like, if somebody strikes a chord and maybe says something that resonates with you and you're like, I was thinking about that about myself too, that it just like, you know, it just amplifies that. It's horrible. So I was also living in New York when John and I first started dating.
This is crazy.
He was living here. We were both obviously at WWE at the time.
Oh, okay.
So we both met there, but he didn't talk to anybody at all, but he would always talk to me. And everyone's like, why is he talking? Like, what's going on here? Because I didn't know he didn't talk to anybody. So we would always just talk, but we would use Voxer, this like old like walkie-talkie app.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah.
So we would use that and we would talk all day long. And we would see each other on the road, but it was always just like sort of like casual, hey, how's it going? Whatever. No interaction had actually happened. So when it finally came time to be like, are we just like best friends or are we going to get it on?
Right.
What's happening here? So he kept saying he was going to fly to New York to come visit me. And I was like, no. I go, Evie, you're going to come like stay at my apartment? And then like, what, I just have to like sleep with you? And then like, then what?
Right. That's a lot of pressure.
Like it just felt like
and
this
New York
weird...
apartments are like this big.
Oh my God, totally.
So
and you've got one bathroom,
Yep.
like all these horrible situations. So I was so stressed out about it. So I kept canceling on him. And then we both met. He came to meet me in Orlando. I was doing a show with NXT. So I was like, okay, we're on neutral territory there at least. It's fine. But he was really funny. I mean, he ended up getting his own hotel room. He was like, I always just assumed that he meant that he was going to come stay with me. He's like, no, I was going to get my own hotel. Like, I'm not, like, totally impeding on you. Whatever. But yeah, anyways, so, but he, a lot of the times, and it's my instinct to take out my wallet to pay for everything. And he would just let me do it. And I was like, yes! Okay, how long is this going to go
Right, it's like, also I live in New York.
Yeah!
Like, I live really have that much extra money.
Totally! My rent's insane, the taxes are insane, like, buy me a beer. Yes. Jesus. Yes. Oh my God, actually one, like, funny side story of when we first started dating. We went to the Union Square Market.
Oh, fun.
And it was, like, Christmas time, and we were buying all these beautiful things. I was like, let's have some hot apple cider. I didn't know that hot apple cider makes you your pants.
Oh my God, what? I didn't know that either.
Yes. Hot apple cider, or just apple cider in general, I don't know if apple juice does the same. It messes up your insides.
I'm like shook over this.
So was I. So we're at Union Square Market. I'm like, this is so great. And then my stomach's like, my stomach starts like freaking out. I'm like, I need to go home. I don't know what to do. Oh I did not know how to get out of the situation. So he's aware of what's happening. We're in a cab.
Oh no, you told him?
Oh yeah. No, I didn't tell him exactly what was happening, but we're like in the cab and he's like trying to like hold my hand. I'm like putting down the window and I'm like taking off my jacket. I'm like, don't look at me. Don't breathe near me. Get away from me. I am dying. So once he realizes what's happening, he finds it funny. And again, you have an apartment with one bathroom.
Yes, that's right next to wherever else.
Oh my God! I was like, you've got to give me a couple minutes. I got to go up ahead of you.
I'm gonna turn the shower.
Yeah,
on.
And he's like poking at my stomach. I'm like near tears. I'm like,
no,
it's not funny. Like dying. Yeah, it was very upsetting.
Oh my God!
Yeah, we've been married for a little while now.
No,
so
it all worked out.
We've been through some.
Literally.
So literally, do not have apple cider. Early on into a relationship, I don't advise it. Don't.
I'm not gonna have it ever.
The whole cab ride, I was like, "Do you want to stop it? Let's stop at this bar." I look at the cab.
Whole Foods looks nice.
I lived in Queens, by the way.
Oh God.
So we're at Union Square Market, and I lived in Astoria, and I'm like, "Oh my God, get me out of this cab!" Yeah, it was horrifying.
Wow.
It was a very scary time.
Wow.
I'll have to relive that story with him one day on this show because he'll probably tell it much better than I did. So you guys first started dating, and then you joined UFC after that.
Yeah. So at the time he fought for the WEC, which was owned by the UFC. It was just the lighter weight classes. They hadn't merged yet. And so I would go to shows with him. He'd be like, hey, do you want to come to Denver this weekend? So I'd come, I'd go to his fights, but I'd also really just kind of go when he was a guest fighter so we could hang out. And because of my family's background, like my brother and dad being wrestlers, but then my grandfather was a Navy champion boxer.
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah, and then his brother, so my great uncle, was a professional boxer. So I had like a very natural understanding of combat sports, or at least those two disciplines.
They all must started to love you. Like, who's this girl? Why does she know all this?
Yeah, so as Joe, like I said, Joe is like the mayor. So he's friendly with everybody, and so I would just kind of like ask questions or make conversation with people. They were like, do you want to do this? I'm like, well, I guess. Like, I'll do anything that pays me, right?
Hell yeah.
And so I got offered a job in Vegas that was a digital, like, covering of the sport. It was before the UFC's TV deal. So they essentially were paid by the UFC to do the pre and post show for pay-per-views. And so I finished grad school. It was more money than I was making in New York. Not by a lot, but it goes...
Take what you can get.
Yes, it goes so far. And so I was like, well, I can always move back to New York and be poor.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to, like...
Or you live in Vegas and you're rich.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
The first apartment building I went to, I had kind of scouted some out online, but I didn't have any friends that lived here. I didn't know anything. I was like, well, how much is this? It had like granite countertops. It had a fireplace. It was a real one bedroom.
It's like $1,100.
It was $700. I was like, what?
I'll take it.
I was like, I'll take this away. I'm like, let me sign. Like, this is amazing. And I just felt like I knew something special was with Joe. I'm like, it's closer to this guy I really like. And if none of this works out, I can move back.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have anything that was my own in New York. Mm-hmm. So it's like I wasn't giving up like my house or my car or this or that. Like I really didn't have anything. And I'm like, why not take this risk? I probably will never regret it, even if I fail, but I will regret not doing it. And I was going to regret not trying it with Joe. So then when I moved to Vegas, I was like, listen, I know that, like, you're a very cool fighter and, like, you're, you know, cool guy with friends with everyone, but, like, it's you and me.
We're buckling it down.
Right, or it's not. Like, it's not going to be, like, you and me and then, like, you're in Sacramento having fun. Like, it doesn't work like that. So he was like, okay, let's try. And that was probably like 2010-ish, maybe beginning of 2011. And yeah, we've been together ever since.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's the best.
He's so great.
Was it ever weird for you guys working together? Like, was it ever a thing that came up?
No, I wouldn't say it is. Like, I love interviewing him. I feel like we both know how to turn it on. I think because I'm sure you guys are the same. Like, he respects what I do so much that he doesn't up for me.
Yeah.
And then I respect him so much as an athlete that I want to give him like the best platform I can. So it works out really well. I would say, and I used to work all of his fights.
Yeah. How was that? It must be hard, right?
Yeah. So the first ESPN show we ever had, Joseph was on the card. And traditionally, I step away when he fights. I set a timer on my phone for like the number of rounds and the minute rest in between, and I go pray. And then when the timer goes off, or somebody will come get me saying like he won early or whatever.
Okay.
We were in Brooklyn, and like I said, it was the first fight card we had with ESPN.
Your Barclays?
Yes, they kept bringing me fighters to interview. I was doing interviews until halfway through the second round of Joe's fight. And the problem was I could hear the crowd. So I think it was in the first round. The crowd went nuts. And I'm interviewing Cowboy Cerrone, right?
Yeah.
Love him. And Cowboy's known Joe and I since the beginning of our relationship because he was in the WC as well. And he's like, girl, your man's fighting. I'm like, I know. So I like gave the PR team, like I hear the crowd go and I'm like, my heart just stops. I'm like, this is either going to be really good or really bad. So I just kind of look at the PR team and they're all going,
oh,
and I'm like, okay. So I was like, all right, we're good. And then they're like, hey, one more. So they bring me Paige Van Zandt. I'm like, okay, could I just get 15 minutes? Like, I was so stressed. So finally, it was maybe the end of the second round and I just went and I was like in the loading dock. That's where we were doing our interviews. So I like crouched behind a production truck. I'm just like praying and waiting, and then he won, so it was great. But like, it's that for me is the challenge. Like, I like working his cards because it's a distraction. So I'm not like a nervous mess like I traditionally would be.
Sure.
But when he's fighting, I'm like, could I just get like a few minutes? Could I just not have to do like and everyone knows. It's not like we've had to keep it a secret or anything like that. So, like, you guys all know. Like, just give me some time.
This is not new information. Yeah, give me my space.
Give me some time. Yeah.
It can be, it's really, I can find, sometimes when I'm watching John with his matches, you know, it's obviously a different situation than it is for you guys. But still, I mean, even when I was like in the hotel watching him do, like, blood sport, which is, like, a different, like, work, shoot style of wrestling. So, and I'd never seen him in that style. He'd never done it before. He really wanted to do it. And this was only back in October. Yeah, mid-October. So, it didn't happen all that long ago, but I remember being, like, so stressed, so nervous because he just wants to be a badass. He wants to fight people. And as much as there's times that I'm like, oh, my God, I got to, like, watch this, like, through my hands and, like, is this okay? And he does all these, like, crazy, like, deathmatch stunts where he'll be bleeding and he's, like, taking tacks into the back and all these horrible things. But usually, now he kind of gives me a bit of a heads up on things happening in his matches.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yes.
Because when we first started dating, he wouldn't. And, like, because he was, like, very, like, old school carny wrestler.
Oh, really?
He didn't tell me about anything. So I would just be watching it firsthand and be like, oh, my God. Like, he came home, he had a match with Kenny Omega. And I was watching it at home, and they just did the most crazy. Walked in the door. I was like, take off your shirt, because he like had all this glass in his back. I was like, give me like a full 360 right now. I need to assess the damage. But yeah, he's a glutton for punishment. He loves it.
See, that is challenging, and I think that's like when you know how hard they work
and they love
how much they want
the
it,
passion
but the threat of injury is there.
Oh yeah,
and that's like the scariest part. You know what I mean? It's like you want the best for them because they're great people and they work for it. You know, they're the epitome of like. Work for your dreams, right? But then it's like, okay, also please don't get hurt.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I'll see. My biggest thing with John is slaps to the head. That's the one that I'm like, oh my God, of everything you do, please just stop that.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate it so much. He's like, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine, babe. It's all fine. Always stresses me out.
Yeah.
Psychopath.
It's our nature.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Dapper Scrapper.
Yeah.
You guys are like quite the fashion icon duo.
Hey, thank you so much.
Yeah.
We love
like, you
clothes.
really pulled together some looks.
Thanks. We just love clothes. It's our vice.
Does Joe dress you sometimes?
Oh yeah, I would say the majority of the time.
He loves it. You're like one of those like little like paper dolls you can just like give a sweet little outfit to.
Yeah.
And
sometimes he's like too fashion forward for me. I'm like, bro, I can't wear this on TV. Like our fans
like
are
what?
really like right now he's like very into like a full suit with these sneakers, like McQueen sneakers or something.
I think you can do it.
Hey, thanks.
I think you can do it because you are so tiny and like. I keep saying you're tiny. I've said it like 30 times.
She's the exact same size as me. So
no, I'm not. No, I'm not at all. I'm like 5 inches, maybe not 5 inches. I'm a couple inches taller, and probably
that's
like
true.
I'm
only 5 feet tall.
But I feel like a suit works great on that like tiny little body. I love a suit.
Me too.
Love
but then it's suit. Like, did you ever get nervous of like, okay, I never want my outfit to be the talking point. I want people to like what I wear. And, like, I'm very proud of my outfits, but I never wanted to be like, what the is she wearing?
Right.
And have that take away from whatever I'm saying.
Yeah, you know what? I never thought about that, and I probably should have heeded that advice a few times.
No, it's just, so, like, Joe is, like, a very, like, he will know what's on the runways every season. Like, he's very fashion forward for both men's and women's fashion. And so while I love that, and I like to be, like, oh, what's, like, out now, I never, like, I wouldn't say sports fans are maybe the most, like, stylish.
Right, I saw you on your Instagram recently about a pleat in your, or a dart in your shirt.
Dear God, like, everyone's like, oh, is it cold in there? First of all, it's fucking Abu Dhabi. It's not cold.
It's not cold at all.
Second of all, like, it's a whole seam going down the whole thing, and everyone's like, oh, you didn't wear a bra to work?
Get with it.
Like oh, you know how you just never wear a bra to work?
No, you know what? Let them fly, baby.
Yeah, 2020.
Titties out, everybody. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. So that's what makes me a little bit nervous. But
I like to try to train people as I go of like, no, we're doing this.
Yes.
And y'all are going to jump on board and it's going to be great.
Good.
I mean, it's sometimes it's an uphill battle. I definitely had some arguments with some people in WWE when they'd be like, what are you wearing? And I'm like, it's fine.
Oh, really?
It's fine.
The only
Because they always just wanted me to wear like sheath dresses. And I was like,
what?
Ew.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, They just put on this like news dress. I was like,
oh yeah, no.
What?
No. We are too cool for that.
Way too cool for that.
The only time I've ever been told no, and I was pissed, and I still haven't worn it, is I had a hot pink blazer dress.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, and it was like, so it is one of those. It's a blazer dress.
Yeah.
This is like 2 years ago. And I remember this. Joe Rogan and his wife were like, that's so good. Whatever. And then I went to the little food station to eat before the show. And my producer's like, it looks like you're not wearing pants. I'm like, no, this is a thing.
It's the point.
This is a vibe right now.
Yes.
It's cute. And like I had like a tank top underneath and I had a slip.
Oh.
Right?
Can we little peek of a slip? I love a slip.
They're so useful.
Love a slip.
And so it was like a little bit longer than... it was meant to be, so it wasn't super short or anything. I'm not like a scandalous dresser. But they were like, you have to change. So thank God I always bring it back up. Yeah. Just in case, because I also never know what like the guys are going to wear, or like if I have to go up to the desk, I don't want to like completely clash. But
or if you've got to jump up, because you get up on the side of the octagon, sometimes you need to be a little careful about that movement.
Yeah, so I can't wear like shorter dresses or skirts because you will see.
Yeah,
right
now. Hey girl.
Yeah.
I had something like that happen to me one time. I was doing a kickoff show for a pay-per-view, and I looking back on it now, the dress was definitely a little bit risque. I'm not a person that like puts my boobs out there. They're not like my like asset. Right, like check these babies out. But this dress was accentuating them. And they were like, I like threw to a package for something, and someone came running out to me with a man's blazer, and they're like, you have to wear this. Yeah, and I had to wear like a blazer. For the rest of the show.
Didn't people notice that you put a blazer on?
Of course they did. Yeah. Oh yeah, it was like a whole to do. Yeah, I'll have to pull up that picture. I'll post a picture.
Yeah, I need to see this.
Because I notice a photo I get tagged in sometimes that it's just like, it's fine, but I mean my boob is like out.
Oh really?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm proud of you.
You know what? I'm proud of me too. Nothing I would have. I just didn't think about it at the time. So I don't know. Whatever.
I love it.
Okay, so wrapping up here, we're almost done.
Oh my gosh, I never want this to end.
I know, right? This is fun. I think should we just like start our own show? Is this
our new
show? Is this it? Are we doing it?
And we even have like the hair color that goes for it.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. It just works. Something about it just works, guys. There's no denying it.
There's no denying it.
No denying it. Okay, so your time going over to Abu Dhabi. How has that been?
You know what? It's so cool. Honestly, and I know this is going to sound like, oh, she works for UFC, it's a talking point. I genuinely cannot say enough good things about it.
Yeah.
The downfall is it's far away.
Yeah.
And the sleep is challenging for us, especially in the talent role, because we're doing things. We tried to stay up throughout the night because for 4 out of the 5 shows, we were on regular North American showtime.
Oh, God, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then the 5th show for Khabib, we did a hard left and went back to local time.
Right.
So for those first 4 shows, I worked 2 of them. We tried to just stay up through the night. So it's 3 o'clock in the morning and everybody's just downstairs trying to stay awake. You're working out, at 4:30 just to have something to do. But then our fighters, depending on when they were fighting, their sleep schedules were all crazy. So our fighter meetings could be like so varied throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the time in July, it was a lot worse with our sleep. We were sleeping maybe like 2 or 3 hours a day because you'd have like fighter meetings from, 3 to 6, then you'd have a break, then 8 to 10, then one at 12, then one at 1, then one at 4, and so obviously you're doing your best to accommodate the athletes, but it was very challenging. And I am not a person who does well with little sleep. I can be hungry, I can be stressed, I can be like in the most high pressure situation, I can be like out of my element, whatever it is. When I haven't really slept, I am like an awful version of myself.
Good. People need to see that side of Megan. It's time.
Yeah, so I just my brain and mouth don't connect. In July, those were probably my worst shows in a long time.
Okay.
I just couldn't get it together.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So this time around, I made a point to really try and stick to a certain sleep schedule, and then I was just sleeping whenever I could.
Yeah.
It'd be like, okay,
survival.
I could go to the gym, but I should probably sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and who wants to go to the gym?
I know, right?
But then the bubble's great because the W Abu Dhabi staff.
It looks insane.
It is insane. They made me a custom wine bottle with our wedding photo on it.
I saw that on your Instagram.
Custom coffee.
My God.
They'd write messages on our mirrors.
That's so cool.
They'd leave us gifts. And then the hotel itself has 2 incredible pools. It has a beautiful gym, tons of restaurants. And our bubble encompassed a bunch of other hotels and restaurants as well.
Good.
Plus a beach. So you could go
So
on
not
wave
a bad
runners.
way.
No. So when people were I have friends that work for other organizations or in other sports. And one of them actually yesterday, Joe and I were having dinner and I was getting text from a friend who's in a different type of bubble and he's just miserable.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, is it that bad? And then he's like, yeah, we can't even leave this property. And I'm like, oh, you're right.
God.
So the UFC did.
You guys had that resort style. You got your bracelet on. You can hop
dream.
over to 4 Seasons.
Yes.
It's all good.
Yes. And the other thing that I think we realized we needed and missed is the fact that we had human interaction again.
Yeah.
You could be with a group of your friends.
Oh my God. What a relief.
It was. And so we were getting tested every day. And I would say even we got 2 tests before we left, had to quarantine, went on the private charter. So it was just us. Mm-hmm. Then you do a 48-hour quarantine with you have to get 2 negatives and then you still stay in for 48 hours and then you get a test almost every day.
Wow.
If not every day. Yeah. And so, but for the first few days, we were all still kind of leery. I don't want to be the one that burst the bubble. I don't want to be the one. I don't want to be the one. And then when you're jet lagged, you're like, is that a weird symptom?
Totally.
And so then
being on a plane that long, that just messes you up.
And we still had to wear masks like you would here, going to a restaurant, whatever. But when you could be outside with 20 of your colleagues and friends and just have a good time and kind of forget that is a trouble.
That sounds nice.
It really was. And I even told my husband, I was like, man, you gotta come next time because you he's so bored of me. He's so bored of me.
No, he just needs sleep apnea.
You don't realize how much it impacts who you are as a person. Being able to just spend time with another person. Yeah. It was a huge relief, and for those 17 days, I kind of felt like, okay, life is normal, and then you come back and you're like, I'm really scared again.
Yeah, it is. It's very hard, especially I feel like for people like with our energy that like I get energy from being around other people. When I'm just by myself, I'm like, oh my god. And I
like want to go to yoga or Pilates, but I'm like too scared to go to a hot yoga studio right now. Yeah. You know, so I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just do it in my garage. You know.
Yeah, I've been lucky that the gym that I work out at here, they only have 4 people at a time.
Oh,
and
that's
they really
great.
Space everyone out, and they like we all clean down our own stations as soon as we're
that's
done.
Great.
And like a cleaning crew comes in, so it's like that is nice peace of mind at least. But okay, so what was it like to be there for Khabib's retirement?
You know,
what was that vibe? Were you guys expecting that?
I was a little bit expecting it because I had interviewed him on Friday, and he was very candid, and I really like working with him, but he, you know, sometimes is a little reserved, especially when we're out of the country when he's doing interviews. And he said, you know, I didn't know if I was ever even going to make it to this fight because of my dad. And when he said that, I thought, ooh, this must have been a super tough camp. And so once he finished Justin, which was just, I mean, probably the best performance we've even seen from him.
Crazy.
Against Justin Gaethje, you know what I mean? So once he started like really pulling at his gloves, we were like, okay, this is it's coming. Like he is adamant about getting these off. Yeah. And it was one of those scenarios where I think even though there was a very small crowd in there, everybody was part of the bubble, a crowd would have really done it justice.
For sure.
You know, I'm hearing that he might come back. Like I saw his manager tweet 30-0.
Oh.
So maybe it was an emotional thing, but he did not strike me as a person who would go back on how he felt in that moment. He didn't strike me as somebody who was like, oh, I'm in the moment, I'm retiring, and then I'm going to actually come back. So I'd be more surprised if he came back than I was when he retired.
Seemed like he was pretty prepared to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, he's not a guy who wants fame. Yeah. He is a guy with tons of money and he's set for life. But he's not driven by a lot of those things that we see other stars in athletics or entertainment driven by. I think that if nobody noticed him ever again, he'd be fine. You know what I mean?
That sounds peaceful.
Yeah. So like I said, I was not as much surprised after that interview on Friday. I will be more surprised if we see him again.
And my final question to you.
Okay.
When are we going to see DC in a WWE ring?
Oh my God. So, like, I think, like, as soon as humanly possible, if it's up to him.
Yeah.
I feel like he's the perfect guy for it.
He's 1,000% perfect for it. He will crush. He will be so great.
Because he starts, like, off camera and just needs to be funny. You're like, Daniel. Oh my God. And so I feel like he would not, I mean, you saw that interaction with Brock inside the Octagon that one time.
Rocked my world.
Yeah, and so I like love Brock. So
I love Brock too.
Okay, yeah, I'm like too. I feel like I don't know if people.
I love Brock. I think he's like a very sweet little cowboy.
He's the nicest.
He really is. Yeah.
So when those two had beef, I'm like, you were the two of the nicest people ever. But when they had that interaction, like this needs to happen.
Yeah.
And I think if it's up to him, he'll do it like tomorrow.
It's really funny when you see guys like that you know can be like total sweethearts, and then they turn it on. You're like, oh right, you're terrifying.
Yes.
It always blows my mind.
Yeah, I think Daniel would be so good. I think quite a few of our athletes would be good at it. I mean, I heard Henry Cejudo wants to do it.
Yeah, I saw that
He's
too.
He's just so corny enough for it, and like again, like doesn't care.
He was like trying to call out one of the Bella twins at one point.
Yes. Still comments on her photos, I think, because I like see her and I'm like,
I'll keep an eye out.
Yeah, for that. Yeah. No, I think some of our guys. I think it's so interesting when we do have the crossover because I know as athletes they respect one another. I'm not sure what the fans like feel like in those regards, but I know like because they kind of like they'll go to each other's shows. And I mean, when we came to that show in Vegas, it was a row full of UFC fighters living the dream.
Well, you know, when you have somebody like Ronda Rousey step in and the way that she adapted to the sport and the way that she adapted to the entertainment side of it, that was something that really opened people's eyes. Because, there can definitely be like that crossover. I mean, as you know, UFC fans, super passionate. WWE fans, super passionate. And that crossover can get a little bit muddy sometimes on, people's perception of each of the sports. But, when you have somebody like Ronda Rousey or even like a Kurt Angle when he stepped into WWE and how quickly he was able to adapt to that just blew people's minds. He's one of the absolute best to ever do it. But, you got like Brock, Bobby Lashley.
Yeah.
Some of these amazing.
King Mo, I think, wrestled too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's just so many, like, the crossover is amazing. But yeah, when you see some of these big talents and these big personalities in UFC, you're like, oh, okay. I'm kind of waiting for Paige Van Sant to make the move. I feel like she's going to.
I mean, well, first off, she has a look, right?
Of course.
Like, yeah.
She's got a look, little personality.
Yes, and like, Paige is super talented. Like, she's so athletic. I think oftentimes because she is, like, so cute and, you know, she's blonde and attractive, and sometimes that
takes a spotlight.
Yes.
Yeah.
She is athletic. I mean,
yeah.
some of the stuff that she pulls off, some of her biggest wins have come because of her athletic abilities.
She's doing, like, bare knuckle fighting next, right?
Yes.
Jesus. At, like, during Super Bowl week?
I
just saw that recently.
Renee,
guys, I'm in on the news.
Yeah.
Got it all.
I mean, bare knuckle.
That's wild.
That's something that not a lot of guys would do.
Totally.
So I think she is trying to get away from that, like
pretty girl
persona.
Yeah,
and show that she is, you know, a serious athlete and has a lot of capability. So yeah, I think she would be incredible.
Hell yeah. All these crossovers happening. I can't wait to see it happen. I think the doors are just going to be wide open for all these people to make that move.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fun. We finally did
best.
it. Blue just wrapped us up with another quick fart,
Benny
which
is awake.
I appreciate. Yeah, Benny is now joined the party. Thanks for coming to do this. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me. I'm so honored, and I just need to say, like, she is everything that you think she is. She's so great, so kind, so welcoming. Between, like, the DMs from years ago and, like, we randomly met in a hallway one time at an event, and you were just so kind and generous, and, like, there's not a lot of people like Renee, and I think you should all be so grateful that she's doing this because she's the best.
I will say likewise to Megan in the sense that I had COVID and you're like, do you need anything? I'll bring you something to your house. Like, people don't normally do that, and it's very, very nice. So, a budding relationship, everybody.
Yes.